Richie, lovely to talk, and I have to say I loved the book. But will you start us off by just telling us a bit about Bundoran? It's a little hodgepodge of Ireland in the 70s, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Tom. Exactly. I tried to cover a lot of that in the book. It's a surf book, but it's really, there's a lot in the story. And I do cover what it was like growing up in, the border territory or the border areas in the late 70s, 80s.
You seemed to, you managed to struggle and not get into the sea surf-wise till you were about 9.
It's strange what attracts you as a kid. I kind of liked, and I still do, I kind of like the hardship in a way, and the wind and the rain. You don't have it so much anymore because wetsuits are so fantastic, but it was a combination of a love for that, and I don't want to sound all cheesy saying a love for the ocean, but a love for all things sea-bound, and the smell and the look and the feel and the taste. I didn't think too much that it was hardcore or crappy wetsuits and all the gammy stuff that we had. That was just the way Ireland was in the 80s, and you couldn't run down anywhere and buy anything to go surfing. It was all very much sellotape and super glued together, and that's the way it was.
What was that scene like in Ireland at the time?
Yeah, look, it was very narrow. It's hard to appreciate if you didn't live through it. Now, in the kind of global world we live in, certainly didn't help you attract the opposite sex or cool or trendy. It wasn't what it is now.
When did it start to change to the point where you thought maybe there might be a career in this? Maybe I might be able to do this?
I think surfing, it ran in tandem with Ireland's economic boom in the mid-90s, the much lauded Celtic Tiger. There was an awareness there. Everything was moving in that direction, and things became possible. You could get more equipment in Ireland. We had opened our surf shop in 1990. It was 96 before I signed my first professional surfing contract, which wouldn't have bought much, if I'm honest, but it was a landmark thing for me and obviously for Irish surfing too.
A lot of the book seems to be leading towards events in 2007. Firstly, what was so special about the weather?
It was just a huge storm, one of those nameless storms, and we could gather from, surf reports and weather charts that it was going to be in that 50-foot range, 50-foot swell, which is, the very words 50-foot waves rings all sorts of bells and imagination. So just, it was really like the first climbing of Everest or something. No one had been to that level in Britain or Ireland or anywhere in Europe. It said that, the surf would be really big, but at about 10 o'clock, all hell was to break loose. And then I remember coming back to the harbour and, there was black clouds and hailstones and you couldn't see anything, but we got our surf and we went out into 50-foot waves, which was exceptional for the time.
What is it like to be at that moment on the crest of those waves?
There's nothing sensible about it. Your self-preservation goes out the window. It's like free climbing without ropes. One mistake and you're in trouble. You might not be killed, but you're definitely in trouble and you do risk life and limb. But there is an attraction to that. You either like that or you don't, and that's it. There's nothing logical about surfing the 50-foot wave. I'd love to separate, but there's not.
Are you ever afraid?
Yeah, the older I got, the more afraid I get. I'm afraid of 4-foot waves now with my kids, but everyone's afraid. No, anyone who tells you they're not afraid of big waves is lying. It's just bravado. Of course, everyone's afraid of big waves, but it's just being able to have the mental power to control that and to apply yourself to the job that needs to be done. So really need to be very present, which I am not in a lot of things. I'm a dreamer and a drifter in a lot of ways, but in surfing, you have to be to the millimeter present. And it's a good description of how you got to be in big waves.
Great. It's an Oasis album as well. Richie, lovely talking to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.